What's going on, Bengals fans? Chris Daughtery here with another edition of Bengals Breakdown. And coming up on today's show, we are talking about 4 changes that I think the Cincinnati Bengals should at least consider making before their Week 4 matchup on Monday Night Football against the Denver Broncos. Before we get into those, though, I want to ask you guys to share today's video for me. Not a lot of people necessarily know what we're doing here at Bengals Breakdown by Chat Sports. We're one of the smaller channels, so I want to push it out into the universe out there that, get it out there to more Bengals fans so we can get more people here, more eyes, more views here on the channel. So whether it's social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, get it out there, help me out, and share today's video. All right, let's get into some of these changes I think the Bengals should at least consider making. Number 1, play Jalen Rivers at that right guard spot. I don't think it can really get any worse right now with the Bengals along their offensive line. And I think the Dalton Risner experiment was just a, good thought. I know I wanted it. I know a lot of Bengals fans wanted it. But unfortunately, he just hasn't been really good so far at that right guard spot for the Bengals this year, especially in the run game. We'll talk about the run game a little bit more here on today's show as well. But I'm not just pulling this kind of out of nowhere. Ben Baby actually had this update yesterday that he put out on Twitter after the Zac Taylor press conference. Talking about Dalton Risner, he's pretty good health-wise. He got a little bit banged up in that game versus the Vikings. But I think what's notable about this tweet, about this update, is the fact that he said it appears right now that the right guard spot is actually open. And Jalen Rivers did finish that game against the Vikings at that right guard spot. I think he played like 22, 23 snaps there. And Zac Taylor even said he thought he held up pretty good against a really good Minnesota defensive front there. And look, the Bengals, they just haven't been able to run the football since the first drive of the season. They had a great drive. They went right down the field. It was like a 13-play drive that took up half of, the first quarter. They ran the ball right down the Browns' throat, and then Lucas Patrick ends up getting hurt. So, you're not going to get Lucas Patrick back at the very minimum. The very minimum that you could activate him is on October 7th. That means you have at least 2 more games against the Denver Broncos and the Detroit Lions before you could get him back. Dalton Risner just has not been good enough, and I think the Bengals should at least try Jalen Rivers there. And you know what? If he sucks, you can go back to Dalton Risner, at some point, whether that's this week, or next week, whatever you want to do. But I think they should at least consider switching it up and starting Jalen Rivers at that guard spot. So let me know what you guys think. Should the Bengals start Jalen Rivers this week? Type Y for yes or N for no down at the pinned comment of today's video. All right, change to make number 2. I want to see some more Samaje Perine. Look, this is really not totally Chase Brown's fault. I think it's the offensive line's fault as well, but he just really hasn't been able to get anything going so far this year for the Bengals. He does have 1 touchdown that came on the first drive of the season, but since then, I think he actually has more yards after contact right now than he actually does just total net yards. And like I said, that's not totally on him. He's getting hit in the backfield before he can ever even make it to the line of scrimmage. But, Samaje Perine, they put him in for a couple of runs, last week against Minnesota. And I get it. It was late in the game. Didn't really mean anything at that point. But, he did convert a 3rd and 12. It was just a draw straight up the middle. And I think he even got hit 5 yards downfield, made a couple guys miss, ended up getting that first down. So I'm not saying totally go away from Chase Brown. I think you definitely have, he's still your starting running back, but I want to see some more of Samaje Perine and maybe even Taj Brooks as well. I think both of those guys, especially Perine, has looked pretty dang good on, kickoff returns as well. So I just want to get him a little bit more work and, kind of the same thing. Just try something because what you're doing right now is just flat out not working. All right, we'll come back to some more changes here in just a second, but we want to give a shout out to our sponsor of today's show. That is Omaha Steaks. And right now, during their Red Hot sales event, you can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com, plus an extra $35 off with promo code Bengals at checkout. From handcrafted steaks to delicious fall favorites, Omaha Steaks delivers the world's best steak experience. Enjoy USDA certified tender steaks juicy burgers, cozy and convenient comfort meals, plus tailgating favorites like chicken wings, smash burgers, and big deli-style franks. They have 50% off site-wide right now at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners here at Bengals Breakdown get an additional $35 off when you use promo code Bengals at checkout. They've got a bunch of different, bundles and packages that you guys can choose from. This is one of my favorites, the classic favorite assortment right here. You see the 50% off site-wide. Plus, you get $35 extra just by using promo code Bengals at checkout. You get a bunch of different options, whether that's sirloins, pork chops, burgers, franks. They even also have some dessert stuff on there as well. They got the caramel apple tartlets on there. So if you want some dessert, you can get that in some of those bundles as well from Omaha Steaks. Omaha Steaks offers unrivaled quality and variety, and every bite is backed by their 100% guarantee. Right now is the perfect time to stock up with the exceptional handcrafted flavor and convenience of Omaha Steaks. Every steak is perfectly aged to maximize tenderness and hand-cut by master butchers in America's heartland. So get fired up for fall grilling with Omaha Steaks and visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their Red Hot sales event, and also get an extra $35 off just by using promo code Bengals at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com. And our listeners here on Bengals Breakdown get an extra $35 off just by using promo code Bengals at checkout. You can also see their website for additional details. All right, my third change I think the Bengals might consider making here, and it's probably not going to be a popular one because I know a lot of people out there love Andrei Iosivas, but I think they should consider playing Mitchell Tinsley a little bit more than Yoshi. And this is not a slight at Yoshi. I really do like him as a wide receiver, but he just has not been efficient when he has been out there. Maybe you can blame that on him. Maybe you blame that on Zac Taylor, not scheming stuff up for him. Maybe you blame it on Jake Browning. But so far this season, he has unfortunately just been a non-factor, especially when you have another guy in Jermaine Burton that every single week so far, he's been a healthy scratch. So, look, he's gotten way more snaps. Well, I don't know the math there, 3, 4, 5 times the amount of snaps that Mitchell Tinsley has gotten so far this year. They put up the exact same stats, and the only thing that Mitchell Tinsley does is catches one-handed touchdown passes. So if you're going to switch something up, especially, you got to take into consideration, too, you have your backup quarterback in Jake Browning. Andrei Iosivas has gotten more opportunities with Joe Burrow, especially in the preseason. Jake Browning worked more with the second team. Mitchell Tinsley was on the second team. So I think that comfortability level might be a little bit higher there with Mitchell Tinsley. So, while it might not necessarily be a popular thing to do, especially amongst Bengals fans, I think it should be something to consider. I want to hear from you guys, though. Who would you pick if you had to go out there and pick your number 3 wide receiver? Type A for Andrei Iosivas or type M for Mitchell Tinsley? Let me know what you guys think. If you were Zac Taylor, who would you play more this Monday night? All right, my last change to make. I think I kind of want to see less Joseph Ossai at this point. Unfortunately, he's just, when he's out there, he's just not really making a big impact and a big difference for this Bengals team right now. And I understand that Shamar Stewart is out and somebody's got to play the position. But I'll be honest, at this point, I kind of just want to see a little bit more of Myles Murphy. This cannot just be a one-man show in pass rush and helping you out in the run game as well, with Trey Hendrickson there. Somebody else has got to step up. And when you just look at the breakdown here, yeah, sure, Joseph Ossai does have more pressures than Myles Murphy, especially when you take into this consideration, he's got double the amount of pressures, he's got double the amount of pressures and snaps, but the sacks are the same. Myles Murphy actually has more tackles than Joseph Ossai as well. In the PFF grade, you could take that however you want. But I think it definitely shows a little bit of something that it is, 15 points higher right now for Myles Murphy than Joseph Ossai here. So, whether or not you want to, play somebody else, I do think that, at this point, I just want to see probably a little bit more of Myles Murphy, at least until Shamar Stewart returns.